Susan, by the way, this move from the White House to fire these inspector generals, despite a 2022 law that requires Congress to be given 30 days notice from the administration, what exactly does that tell you?
It says that Donald Trump does not want his administration to be held accountable for anything. He believes, wrongly in my opinion, that he has a mandate to go into government and do whatever he sees as fit. That is not the case. However, it's also worth noting he believes he also has immunity. So while he made immunity, I should say, from the Supreme Court in any actions that come out of his his presidential orders. So by firing these IGs, he is in fact saying, like, I don't care what the law is, I'm immune, and I don't want people who may be calling out mistakes that happen in agencies, which is ironic because inspector generals, what they do is find fraud, waste, and abuse that tend to save the taxpayers' money.
Julie, what's the reaction on Capitol Hill to this?
Well, it's certainly mixed. You have Republicans trying to walk the fine line of not criticizing Trump in his first week in office, but this is not a move that is going to be respected or accepted well by Republicans and Democrats alike up here. Of course, they're all coming back to town on the Senate side, at least. Later today, we'll get a chance to ask them directly. But for example, Chuck Grassley, who for as long as I've covered him under the Trump administration, under the Biden administration, has sought to bolster protections for inspectors general, has sought to keep his relationship with whistleblowers in a good place. He already put out a statement over the weekend saying that he would like more information, a quote, further explanation from President Trump, because Trump did violate a law that Grassley and Democrats and Republicans alike have signed several years ago. It requires a 30-day notification at least from the administration to Congress when they were to, if they were to fire any of these inspectors generals. That didn't happen in this case. That's exactly what Kristen Welker pressed Senator Lindsey Graham on. Watch this.
I'm not overly worried about that. It's not the first time people have come in and put their team in. When you win an election, you need people in your administration that reflect your views. So I'm not really worried about that.
But very quickly, the law says he's supposed to give you 30 days notice. He didn't do that. Do you think he violated the law?
Well, technically, yeah, but he has the authority to do it. So I'm not, losing a whole lot of sleep that he wants to change the personnel out.
Technically, yes. I think that was such a revealing ad, that word there. Technically, I think it certainly means that Republicans are probably not going to do much when it comes to this. Again, they control the House and the Senate, so it's really on them to do anything here.
Yeah, Basil, I mean, the now former Inspector General of the Small Business Administration spoke with my colleague Ana Cabrera. Here's how he reacted to the firings.
If it's about changing priorities in the administration and non-adherence to the rationale that we're not a part of the administration and you're going to put people in who are more like loyalists, then the whole system is in shambles.
Basil, that gentleman did go on to say that the president has the right to do this. Where is that right to do things and not do things, and on something so sensitive as this issue?
Well, I think that's why Lindsey Graham's point, is something that we really should be reflecting on going forward, because while the president does have the right to put his own appointees in place, he can do so in accordance with the law. That's why the technically yes comment is so striking, because it suggests that while the president would need, and we would expect the president to follow the law, he's going to do whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it. And, to Julie's point earlier and Susan's point, making sure that Republicans are in line with this is critically important, because in the House, they have the smallest majority. The Republicans have the thinnest majority. The second thinnest majority they've ever had in history. There's obviously a thin majority in the Senate. You see Mitch McConnell's comments against Hegseth the other day, which was, not necessarily a profile of courage, because he really doesn't have much to lose at this point. But it does suggest that there might be a lot of members who are uncomfortable with his moves. So he brings them tomorrow to Florida to get them comfortable with the things that he needs to do going forward. So the technically yes, but we'll do it anyway, I think is going to be a recurring theme in the next 4 years.
And Julie, meanwhile, speaking of...
Two senior Republican senators are urging President Trump to rethink his decision to strip security detail from some former advisors. Chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Tom Cotton, and Senator Lindsey Graham both spoke out after Trump removed protection for three officials: former National Security Advisor John Bolton, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and former top State Department official Brian Hook. The three were involved in an aggressive plan against Iran that included carrying out the drone strike that killed military commander Qasem Soleimani in 2020. Though Bolton was already out of the Trump administration by the time the strike took place, Iran has sought retaliation ever since. In an interview with Fox News, Senator Cotton said he had reviewed current intelligence signaling threats, remained real, and encouraged Trump to revisit the decision. Senator Graham backed him up in an interview with NBC News, saying he doesn't want to pull protection if there's a legitimate threat against people who served our government from a foreign adversary. So, Joe, these Republicans are stepping out and pushing back a bit.
Well, they're concerned not just for those who are now exposed to the possible assassination squads from Iran. They're also concerned about how it impacts government, people who are serving in the government today. Will they be afraid to take certain steps because they may be exposed? Yeah, they may be exposed when they get out of public service. And so, Jonathan Lemire, that is the real question. A lot of debates over Secret Service protection being taken away from Anthony Fauci and others. The thing, though, that really sends a chill in the defense community and the intel community, though, are, of course, Pompeo and Bolton, but especially Brian Hook, which is interesting. I've been in meetings. I've been at roundtables with Brian Hook. I've never heard him criticize Donald Trump or the Trump administration, and in fact, he's a pretty loyal soldier. His job was obviously protect us from the Iranian threat, and so I think a lot of people on the Hill and a lot of people in the State Department shocked that Brian Hook, of all people, also getting his security detail taken away when the threat, as Senator Cotton said, is very real from Iran.
Yeah, that's the most puzzling one. John Bolton, the most obvious. Bolton has been a very outspoken critic of Donald Trump. But even Mike Pompeo, of course, Trump appointed him both as CIA director and Secretary of State in the first term. And the Iran threat does remain real. Let's remember that during this past campaign, the Biden administration warned that Iran was actively trying to potentially assassinate Donald Trump during that campaign. Iran has denied that. We know there were other attempts on Trump's life, but the threat does remain. And now that Trump is returned to power, there's even more scrutiny on the.
President Trump has taken back the security detail for a number of people: Anthony Fauci, Mike Pompeo, Brian Hook, among them John Bolton too. The Wall Street Journal editorial board says, "Pray it won't happen." But what if one of them now gets attacked? If Iran commits violence against any of these men, Mr. Trump won't be able to escape some responsibility.
Yeah, I would encourage the president to revisit the decision for those people who are being targeted by Iran, as the president was targeted for assassination by Iran. As the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, I've reviewed the intelligence in the last few days. The threat to anyone involved in President Trump's strike on Qasem Soleimani is persistent. It's real. Iran is committed to vengeance against all of these people. In fact, the chief of staff of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence agreed with me that if these threats were against him or his family, that he would want security, because the threats are real. There are gaps in our coverage. We don't know what we don't know, and it's better to be safe than sorry, because it's not just about these men who helped President Trump carry out his policy in his first term. It's about their family and friends, innocent bystanders every time they're in public. It's also about the president being able to get good people and get good advice. If people are saying going to work for the president now on Iran or China or North Korea or the Mexican drug cartels, they might hesitate to do so, or they might hesitate if they're in office to give him the advice he needs or carry out the policy.
Starting for North Carolina, it should have been done month ago from the hurricane that took place. Almost 4 months ago, North Carolina had been treated very badly, so we are stopping here. Trump said Wednesday in an exclusive interview with Fox News, Sean Hannity, that Democrats don't care about North Carolina, and that was why he should visit the state for his first official trip as president during his second term. Trump is slated to visit California on Friday as well to survey the damage of wildfires that have ravaged the state this month. It looks like something hit it. We don't talk about